women, you gotta wake the fuck up. You gotta start realizing and seeing what truly is happening. When women unite and form community and form relationships with other women, there's strength in numbers. But not only that, when women join together, they become a force. A force that's very powerful, that can fucking create shit and can break shit too. And this is why men are afraid of that. Throughout history, they've been pinning women against women. They've been afraid of women gathering and united.
Hey y'all, it's Sheba and I'm back with another video. I know that clip ended really abruptly, but that's exactly how the guy uploaded it. And it literally popped up on my FYP today. And all I could think to myself is like, damn, okay, like the men are also waking up too. And I know there's a lot of men on social media in general that do a lot of pandering towards women, especially in like womanist spaces, feminist spaces, or any space that involves women discussing the patriarchy or disentering men. But what I found particularly poignant about what he was saying was how he was pointing out to women how powerful we are, how aware he is of how powerful we are when we come together, and how he even admitted that men, the biggest fear of men is women collectively coming together and leveling up, and how in the past, anytime that's happened or that's occurred, men have tried to put an end to it, right? Even when we look at things like the Salem witch trials, right? Some of these women weren't even necessarily practicing witches, but just them congregating together was striking fear in a lot of men, right? We see this in modern day with a lot of the different movements that have occurred amongst different women groups, right? The disentering men movement, the level up movement was a huge threat to a lot of men. You had different creators like Ashira 7 that garnered a lot of hate and vitriol from a lot of men online because they felt as though the information that she was preaching to women was causing a lot of damage, right? Because she was putting women on game, right? Telling women how they need to be dealing with men. And women were finding themselves congregating in her space and then walking away feeling empowered to navigate the world in a way where they don't allow men to take advantage of them financially, and they make sure that they actually get something monetarily out of that relationship with men, right? So it's those kinds of things that strike fear in men, because this is something we see play out in all areas of life. I mean, in music, we saw this happen with female rap. Cardi was pitted against Nicki as being the chosen one to take her down. Prior to that, Nicki was pitted against Lil' Kim, where she was marketed as the new, younger, shinier version. And even when you look at Kim's come up, her and Foxy were always constantly being pitted against one another too, right? See the same dynamic with Beyonce and Rihanna. You see it with pop girls. You see it in entertainment. And the entire time, the main people that are often stoking the flames of the drama are men. They're the ones actively cheering it on, encouraging women to go after one another, to create this separation, this division, this need for competition. And this is something that men constantly do, right? Inside and outside of the industry. They triangulate women against one another in their personal lives. They do it with the exes. They do it with their own mothers, sisters, and they take delight in sowing discord and dysfunction and division, and kind of sitting back with popcorn watching everything unfold, right? And I do want to be clear though, the kind of males that do this do belong to a particular demographic that I will touch on in an up and coming video. But one thing I have come to realize is the true sign of a man that's operating in his divine masculine is one that does not contribute to or find any delight in watching women fight or be dysfunctional. Instead, when he would see that kind of drama unfolding amongst women, he would immediately take to action to break it up. and resolve it, right? So when you see guys that enjoy watching shows like Baddies or Real Housewives or any show that's kind of centered on women tearing each other down in any way, shape, or form, verbally, physically, understand that at his core, a man that enjoys watching that kind of thing or takes delight in that kind of, he finds it entertaining, that's a man that does not like women. When it comes to the patriarchy is all about separation and isolation, right? The patriarchy created racism and all other isms, classism, colorism, all of the isms. The patriarchy created misogyny. All of these things exist within the patriarchy or underneath the umbrella of patriarchy. And the point of it all is to keep everyone separate and warring against one another, right? One of the main reasons why you have, women of various races against one another is in large part due to the patriarchy, right? When you look at it through like a white supremacist or a racist lens, it's them telling them, oh, well, you're better than this and these entire groups of people. So because you're so much better than them, you need to stay separate from them. You don't need to seek any kind of friendship or camaraderie with them, right? And so there's that level of it, right? And then when you look at it from the classism or classist lens, it's like, okay, you are in a different social status or social tier than this other individual, so you don't need to congregate with them, right? And that creates a separation that goes beyond race and skin color, right? It's, oh, you don't have the same educational background as me, you don't have the same upbringing as me, you don't have the same amount of money as me, you don't have the same status as me, so I'm going to separate myself from you, right? That's essentially what the patriarchy wants, right? It wants women in constant competition with one another, right? Distrustful of one another, right? And for me, like when I was starting out on my spiritual journey, and I've never been someone that's been like anti being friends with women of like other races or been like super hostile towards women of other races, but obviously for the most part growing up I would tend to befriend people that looked like me, right? Just due to them being who I was surrounded by growing up. But one thing that I noticed on my spiritual journey is how as you go on your path, you realize how much we as human beings have in common with one another, and that getting caught up on race or skin color or hair texture is extremely low vibrational and quite frankly a waste of time, right? Because at the end of the day, we all have so much more in common with one another beyond our outer shell, right? Like this meat suit that we're in, we all have so much more in common with one another, right? And on an existential level, none of us is getting out of here alive, right? So we're all going to be returning. Well, some of us may be going other places, but for the most part, we're all going to be returning to the same source once all this is done with, right? And so when you think of it on that base level, it doesn't make sense to constantly be at war with one another and seeing one another as adversarial in this lifetime. It literally does not make sense, and it's a waste of time. And I can always tell how far another person, especially another woman, is on their own personal journey spiritually by how they speak about their involvement or their relationships with women of other races or social statuses. Like, I can always tell if a woman is overly caught up in another woman's class level or is harboring some kind of hostility towards another race of women, where they're holding on to any kind of like stereotypes or attachments towards like feeling a competitive spirit towards, say, like a white woman or an Asian woman or a Hispanic woman, and then vice versa. I can always tell how far along they're on in their spiritual path based on how much they harp on that, right? Any woman that's still overly caught up in competing with another woman of another race, age group, culture, ethnic group, socioeconomic background. Any woman that's so overly caught up and overly focused on that and judging other women based solely on those superficial factors has not removed themselves from their ego enough to, like, their baseline conscious level is still very much 3D, right? They're still very much operating on the 3D, where they're still concerning themselves with matters of the material world that are irrelevant, right? They are still seeking some sort of form of validation outside of themselves. They're not content within themselves because they feel hostility and threatened by another woman, right? Because they're still looking at that other woman as someone that they need to be competing against, because they're still allowing that, they still have that conquered mindset from the patriarchy, right? And it's no shade to those women that are like that, because it's a lot of us, right? It's the vast majority of women, even if they've come far along in their own journey, in their conscious level, they are attempting to raise their conscious level. They're attempting to educate themselves. They're learning occult sciences. They're learning their practices. They're getting involved in the craft. They're doing the work, but they just haven't met themselves further enough to get to the point where they no longer see another woman as a threat. When I navigate life, I don't view women that I encounter as a threat unless they are directly threatening me or they're posing some immediate danger to my life, right? And for the most part, that never happens, right? But I don't navigate life through a sense of coveting anything any woman has, or comparing myself to another woman, or competing for the male gaze over another woman. I don't experience those feelings when I'm engaging with another woman or when I'm connecting with another woman. I'm never looking at them as a potential adversary. I'm always looking at them as a potential ally that I could have in life, right? Because that's ultimately what it's about, right? Successfully navigating this life is about cultivating a community of like-minded individuals and allies that you can have on your team, essentially, to help you prosper, help you get to the next level. And in order to do that, you can't be caught up on really basic, superficial things like skin color, hair texture, ethnic background, political party. You can't allow those factors to stifle you or from potentially making a connection with someone that you have a ton in common with. And I think that what the guy had to say was so spot on. Like, as women, we don't realize how much power we could seriously wield if we just got out of that colonized mindset of seeing one another as competition and seeing one another as enemies and seeing one another as a threat to, our current standing in life, right? And a lot of that is due in part to men and like where we see ourselves in proximity to men. So that was just a message that I wanted to come on and share with y'all. Definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. How far along have you come in your personal journey where you are with other women and your relationships with other women? Because I'm really interested in it. I would also like to have this space be cultivated, a safe space for other women to share. I'm not catering my channel towards any specific groups of women of any particular backgrounds. It's more so a space for just like-minded people that are also on a personal spiritual journey to figure out life and connect the dots and make sense of this world. So that's all I have to say in this video. Definitely let me know what you think, and until next time, I'll see y'all soon.